Team Punta Gorda.
Hey, Ken. Good morning.
County. We got Jill from the show. We got Mike who's going to be here all day.
Yes, we're one hat this hour, another hat the next hour.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
Well, I feel sorry for him.
He was talking between clenched teeth.
Yeah. So, a couple of announcements before we get underway. Port Charlotte High School Orchestra is going to be performing their holiday tunes. That's this evening, 5 to 7 p.m. It's going to happen at Fisherman's Village Center Court. The concert is free, however you can make a donation if you'd like to the Port Charlotte High School Wind Orchestra. Also, get ready because coming up December 22nd, the 12th annual Punta Gorda Boat Parade. Biggest Christmas boat parade on the entire Gulf Coast. Everybody's going to be decorating their boats, and it's going to be a nice little tour. If you want more information, you can call Harris at 625-2295, or you can just log on. They've got a website up now, puntagordaboatparade.com. So that's always going to be fun. We're going to have them on the show in a week or two. Before the 22nd, obviously.
All right.
So what's going on, Nancy? What are we doing?
Oh, man. Team Punta Gorda always has stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. And I brought my friends from the Public Works, well, actually, Bob Halfhill, Public Works Director.
Bob,
And
Good morning.
welcome back.
he is leading our Landscape Committee project.
Let me expand this. Landscape Gateway,
At
Committee.
Gateway and Thoroughfares,
something like that.
yes.
We're setting standards for landscaping, different places where you enter the county. And we're looking at various thoroughfares like 41 and 17 and Veterans Highway, people at places like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're setting what type of landscaping we want there. And we're gradually expanding. We had Nancy and her crowd come over a couple of weeks ago and join the committee. We had FDOT last meeting, and that was interesting because their input was what we could not do. And I say what we could not do is what plants don't live on a thoroughfare. They'll die.
Even if they are indigenous, you're finding it.
They'll die.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the environment.
Yeah.
We learned about medians, and I knew about the clear zones and things, but FDOT's got their rules and regulations, so that's a valued piece of information for us to
They
work
pulled
with.
out the technical documents that we have to look at to comply with in order to select a plant. And it's like, you expect me to read this stuff? You know, it's like, because the caliper of a tree, for example, the diameter of the trunk can only be so big depending on the speed of the highway that you're on. So they've set those kinds of requirements and which trees fall into those categories, and it gets pretty, it's interesting, things that most of us wouldn't think about.
Technical terms like velocity zone. You know, tractor trailer going 65 miles an hour, there's some trees that won't work, or if you run off the road and hit them, you'll die. So they have to be a certain size.
Well, they'll slow you down.
Yeah, or that's
Right. Let me give you an example. Veterans Highway. When I first got here, we had palm trees planted on Veterans Highway. And there's different type of curbs. And they have an F curb, they call it, which is a vertical facing. And you're supposed to hit that, deflect off up to a certain speed. Then they have a mountable curb, which goes, I'm sitting here gesturing like people can
Kind
see
of round
me.
it off. Yeah.
Right, it's got 3 different angles. And it's primarily some mowers and people like that can mount the median to mow. Well, the clear area is different for the type of curb you have. And our curb did not match the clear area for those palm trees. And we had a choice. We could either pull them out and put them somewhere else, or we could accept the liability. And the county commission asked me to take them out. Well, they didn't ask me, they told me to.
Well, you moved them. Now you got
I
a little
moved
tree
them.
farm up.
That's my nursery. I've got about 23 trees there on the side of the road. If I lose one somewhere, that's where I take a tree and put it wherever I lost it. And I think I'm down to 19 or 20, something like that, the last...
Well, that's not too bad of a...
No, we didn't lose too many.
Taking out
Greg
too many.
O'Connor, my plant guy, he supervised the move. And I think we lost about 5 trees initially. So really good. But again, DOT, they told us what kind of palms will thrive on the right-of-ways and what type will not. And it's just the heat, the exhaust,
The wind.
the
Wind.
soil, the
Mhm.
wind, everything else. So we've changed direction just a little bit, but I expected that. We got the great ideas going and the enthusiasm and discussion, occasionally arguments around the table. No weapons been drawn yet, except for Joe. And I think you brought your shield, Nancy.
Yeah.
But we're making progress. I think we'll start documenting it at our next meeting this week. We're going to address Parkside,
That'll be a
get them
thrill.
involved. And I'm going to invite the chamber, the Charlotte County Chamber, to join us, some representatives. And we're going to sell Charlotte County through landscaping.
Okay.
How's that for a long time?
Well, and that Joe called, and he said, hey, you know, you want to go on a tour? So he took one of the other committee members and myself on a tour of Lee County. He wanted us to go visit his haunts down in Lee County. And Joe, you might explain the tour that we went on one day.
Well, actually, we missed the last couple of meetings due to scheduling conflicts with the county, so instead of wasting that time, Nancy had mentioned one time she was down at Fort Myers and in my old stomping grounds down there, and I knew some of the areas she was talking about, and I said, hey, why don't we go on a little field trip? So it was Charlie Council, Nancy and I, we met, picked them up at in Punta Gorda. We hopped in my vehicle and drove down for the morning, and we were able to look at some applications of existing plants, trees, because you know, you talk about it a lot, you look at pictures, but it's nice to see them installed.
Mhm.
It can help you visualize what may be applicable here in Charlotte County. But it was funny because I tried to time it so we'd end up having lunch down there. And when we got done, I said, hey, let's go to lunch. And Nancy's like, okay, sounds good. And Charlie's like, well, I have to check with my wife. You know, and I knew if we were shot at
One
that
of those.
Yeah, one of those. So I was like, well, you know, I told my wife I'd be back. So we didn't even get to the McDonald's drive-thru. And I was planning on going to P.F. Chang's down at Gulf Coast Town Center, have a nice meal on me. I figured, you know, do a little horticultural bonding. Yeah, but you know, that didn't work out. That's why we didn't invite you.
Yeah, that's why Bob at all.
I'm gonna sit closer to Nancy.
we really had a good time, you know. But that whole I have to call my wife thing, I've been interviewing people for 20 years in my business, and you know, when a guy comes in and says I got to call my wife, I'm like, there's the door. Yeah. But you know, it's funny. I've interviewed, you know, hundreds and hundreds of women. I've not once heard him say, well, I have to call my husband. I don't know, something's going on there, you know.
Well, that's another show.
You know, then I was thinking, well, what if we're at a landscape meeting picking out plants, and Charlie's like, well, I can't pick. Let me call my wife.
But you know, one of the things I think that was great about our field trip was in our public meetings that we had, citizens commented on the kinds of monument signs they would like to see that would introduce Charlotte County to a visitor. And monument, meaning think of a large tombstone, these signs that are on the ground that are...
Tombstone?
Well,
Yeah.
Welcome to Port Charlotte.
Is that the same as a headstone?
I wish we were on camera. We've had two great reactions elicited by Bob over here.
Rest in peace.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit closer to Joe.
Let's try this a different way.
Masonry
Yeah.
signs.
Ground
Kind of like what we have in Punta Gorda when you come
Yes.
up south on 41, something like that. That's the type of sign
Yes,
you're talking about.
a monument
Or like when
sign.
you go into Northport.
Yes, and what we as the lay people don't understand is those have to be able to, if they are within a certain distance close to the highway, you have to be able to crash through those without, you know, hitting anybody. So Joe showed us some of the fence posts and things that he was able to put in that are just literally styrofoams.
Yeah. Styrofoam with an acrylic finish.
Yeah, and you would never know that these weren't beautiful, you know, concrete monument type fixtures at all. And so
I thought it was a productive
yeah,
meeting.
it was great.
Yeah.
So we were able to learn on what we could do and how we could, I guess, get around some of the regulations, how we could comply with the regulations and yet achieve the look in the field that we're trying to drive. So that was a good thing.
And I think we took some pictures of some palm trees we wanted to use as our premier tree, and I think we found out they were $10,000 a piece.
Is that a problem?
Yeah.
So we're going to buy baby ones. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can do that, right?
Yeah,
Just let them grow.
you
Yeah.
can.
But they're 10,000 for like what?
If you get a mature.
Mature
A
one?
mature one. What
Wow.
they do is they, these are a particular type of date palm
Mm.
that they grow these in California for dates. And when they quit producing, then they're no longer valuable to the industry. So then they sell these to